Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. I'm Jake Robson, and joining me on the show today is Adam Nathan.
How are you?
Very good. Returning. You made your debut.
Yeah, apparently that was a good one, but no one remembers Dean Marnie's second performance. So
always third.
Oh yeah, they're on. So hopefully we can keep a bit of improvement on that.
Excellent. Jake Saunders as well.
Sanders. How are you?
Saunders. Yeah, good. Dean Saunders. Jake Sanders. Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, we've done it again. Thank you. Very good. Yes. Are you good?
I'm good, mate.
You're looking tanned.
I've been running.
That's
the key.
Very good.
And how are you?
Yeah, good. All good. Pleasure to be here. As you'll notice, obviously, the main man is off today. We won, so we lost, so he doesn't come in. No, that's a joke. He actually, where is Johnny? Does anyone know?
He's commentating.
Yes. He's got a far better and more important gig than this one here today. No, he sends his regards, but he'll be back when we're back next Monday, which we will be doing. Let me tell you now, a bumper Bilbao preview next Monday. So watch out for that. As for this week, good weekend, guys.
Not too bad.
Yeah, to a point.
Until 2:30 yesterday afternoon.
Thereabouts.
Yeah. Anything
I've
interesting?
got past the stage where Spurs ruined my weekend.
Yeah, that's fair. We're working or
Working yesterday, yeah. It was a bit of a busy day. I thought it was going to be a quiet one, and then it ended up with Nuno getting a bit of stuff from the chairman, and Nicholas Jackson trying to kill.
Oh yeah, busy one.
Botman, was it?
Botman, yeah.
Amarin coming out with more madness.
Yeah, and that's before we even get to Ange. Adam,
Exactly.
are you working?
Yeah, bit of work, bit of family stuff, and then these Spurs games just seem to like punctuate the weekend, almost like allegedly entertainment.
It finished the
events.
weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
A funny old bookend, and then sort of 6 hours of rage at being annoyed at Tottenham again.
Let's do some club news. The women finished their season with a 1-1 draw at Everton. They finished 11th of the 12 teams. Plenty of work to be done in the summer. Under-18s lost 1-0 at West Brom on Saturday. And the under-21 season finished in mid-April, of course. So yeah, come on then. Let's not hide. We'll talk a bit about tickets for the final a bit later. But yesterday, what is Adam? You start. What is there to say? Just as an overview.
Look, from an individual point of view, that game after qualifying for the final, I don't think any fan would be annoyed at defeat. I don't think any fan would have even had much of a problem had they played a complete reserve team, maybe even weaker than yesterday, and lost. I think the thing that's always worried me about these league games is, firstly, this has been going on since basically mid-February, that the league has been a second-class citizen, which is frustrating because as a fan that does go to the games home and away, we're still paying an awful lot of money for these tickets, and for the club just to sack them off, it's not great. It's not particularly enjoyable. But secondly, when you look at some of the best teams, some best teams' reserves have won the League Cup, because the managers have instilled a way of playing and a system that if you do chop and change, player B, C and D know exactly how to come into a role, do the job and perform in a similar way, that the quality might be slightly worse, but the general standard of play and how a team performs is on a similar level. When we change our players, it looks like they're just not coached at all. And it does strike me as a bit of a red flag for me, for Ange, that what are they doing as a unit that when they do bring in players, it looks so different. Now, obviously, Davis is not going to be Van de Ven, obviously. But why can't Sarr do a job on the same level as a Bergvall, for example? And why aren't the wingers playing, deeper and narrow? But why aren't we defending with two like we did with Basuma and Bentancur? I just don't understand why it's so different, unless they've just completely said, go out there, try not to get injured, don't worry about anything else.
Knock yourself out. I can see you champing at the bit.
No, I'm not jumping. The irony of you saying that to go out there and not get injured is Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
have got an FA Cup final on Saturday, and they were obviously, we were absolutely atrocious, but they were brilliant. We couldn't get near them. We could not get near them.
The thing is about Palace, it smacked to me of you need to keep. It's a week away. You're not gonna play the reserves, and a bit like with our next game after this weekend. I know we had Thursday. It just feels like 8 changes. We've seen it before. I know what you're saying, Adam, about a way of playing, but 8 changes, I think that's what you're going to get.
I feel like we've always been like that, though. Like, even under Poch, like in League Cup and FA Cup games, Europa League games, we've never been able to make fight. I know I appreciate it's difficult, and the quality of players coming in are not as good as a Liverpool who could bring in, I don't know, a Gakpo or an Elliott, or other teams have got much better players than us, squad players. But whenever we make 5 or 6 changes, it's some of the most disjointed performances I've ever seen.
I was thinking that, but
then time and time again.
Changes.
But then I thought back to like the Dortmund game, for example, at Wembley when we won 3-0, and they moved to 3-5-2. Son played centre forward. Like there were quite marked changes from what you would have thought your stock base team was, and they still performed to a high level. This team just don't seem to give us anything.
Dortmund, which one?
At Wembley when we got to the final.
3-0.
Yeah, okay. What a night that was, I remember it. That was the second leg, wasn't it?
The first leg.
Oh, the first leg. Oh, do I remember it?
Tongan scored, Son scored, and then
Llorente
scored.
Yeah. Because we also beat them in the group stages. That was it. Yeah, those days seem far away. I just wonder if the amount of changes, I don't know. I mean, goodness knows what's going to happen next weekend. We're playing Aston Villa on Friday, aren't we?
I saw quite a true tweet last night about Bissouma, which basically said Bissouma's the kind of player where a run of games doesn't help him.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a few players like that. So personally, I would not involve one single player who's going to start the final. Maybe on the bench, but a player that starts the final should not get a single minute. Maybe Kulu, although now he's injured, maybe give Kulu a little bit of, I don't know, half an hour. I don't even know if it's worth risking him, but I wouldn't give...
I've had this argument with people as well. But then then they won't have played for 2 weeks.
They're professional footballers. They are professional footballers, and we are so fragile, and we literally cannot afford for any of them to get injured.
That's what it is.
We cannot afford. I personally, I'm not a coach. I'm not a sports scientist. I don't think it will make a massive difference. I do not think it is worth the risk against an Aston Villa team who are going to be fired up because of this whole, game change. The fans are going to be fired up under the lights. They massively need to win the game. I would not have anyone on that pitch that is going to start the final. And I'm sure people will disagree, but I wouldn't. It
was also the way but the defending as well. I mean, we've talked about how bad it has been at times. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys saw the game. Did you see the highlights? Did you see some of the analysis afterwards where Jed Spence ended up for I mean, how did we get to this point?
Well, I think when I talk about structure, I mean defending more than attacking, because attacking, you could say you've not got the quality to do it. That's fine. But defending should just be a structural issue, right? It should be a case of this is how we defend as a team. And I know that we're seeing real Jekyll and Hyde anyway between how we defend in the league versus the Europa League, which is bizarre because you'd think that's how you'd want to play in the Premier League against better opposition. It's just so weird that they don't even try to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It was. What's the word I'm looking for? It was a tough watch. I'm sure whatever you guys were doing yesterday would probably have been...
If you watch back, I don't know if anyone's watched back the second goal, Eze's goal. Watch back the second goal. I think it's Sarr. Is it Sarr that pulls it back to him? You watch back as Sarr pulls the ball back. That is astonishing for Premier League level. That is astonishing. Eze has no one near him, and as soon as he's about to pull the trigger...
Did you see who he'd left, who hadn't followed him into the box?
Before he's about to pull the trigger, Romero thinks, oh shit, I might need to put a bit of pressure on him now. Honestly, go back to that goal. Anyone watching, go back and pulls it when Sarr's about to pull him back. It is astonishing that could happen at this level, let alone at a club like us. It is incredible.
Thank you for all your messages so far. We are running a poll, which I believe has been voted on so far. Who should start in Bilbao on the left? Son, Tel, or Richie? And so far, Richie is leading the way with that. Guys, what are your thoughts on that? Just as a straight off the bat.
I think I wouldn't start Tel.
Okay.
And I could probably see the value in the other two. I mean, Son is in my top 3 or 4 favourite Spurs players of all time. So there is the nostalgia that pulls on you slightly and thinking, God, can you give me one more? Is there one more bit of life in the guy yet? But I suppose, do you know what? For the sake of continuity, like we're saying, this team, Palace played their cup final team yesterday, presumably for the point of continuity. I suppose what you want to do is play the team in the final that has played the most football together recently, just from a know-how of how they want to play and runs and positional. So I guess you'd go with Richarlison just off the back of that, because otherwise you're changing things again and trying to sort of learn on the fly in the middle of a cup final, which I don't think is sensible.
But I also think, just from a like what you're saying, from a basic point of view, he's the man in possession of the shirt, and he's played well enough to justify not losing his place at this point to Son, who hadn't even been very good before he got injured.
You are starting Son just because of who he is.
Not
you, but
not me.
The guy has been wildly out of form for the entire season. He would have played an hour He's going to start on Friday, probably.
Presume so,
He's going to have played an hour in 6 weeks. And to go into a major final, I just think, I'm not going into the whole Kane against Liverpool kind of stuff because it's a different scenario. Kane obviously should have started. Son cannot start that game because I know exactly what performance it will be, and he'll be pulled off after 55 minutes. We do not need to carry someone in the final. Richarlison, I know he splits opinion. I personally do quite like him, although he's extremely frustrating. I feel like he's the kind of guy you want in a cup final.
Yeah.
I really do. I know people disagree with that, and I know people don't like him. I don't think now's the time. Put Son on the bench. Bring him on for half an hour if we need him.
Or is he the kind of guy you want to bring on in a cup final, Richarlison, knowing that it could go extra time? You know, I don't know.
I do also agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, a cup final is a 60-minute match, a 30-minute situation to finish it.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're losing, who would you rather bring on? But if you're winning, do you want Richarlison to come on for the set-piece defending and a bit more energy and press? It's going to be one of those decisions where...
Although I would like to see Richie start, I would argue that actually you want to bring him on if you're winning or if you're losing. Because if you're losing, he puts himself about in the box, makes himself a nuisance, wins headers. Son comes on.
That is what Ronnie said there is exactly why Son can't start. Because we will be carrying Brennan Johnson.
Read it out.
We will be carrying Brennan Johnson.
In the final.
I can tell you for free now. We cannot afford to carry 2 wingers in a final.
If we play Son and Johnson.
No. That cannot happen. I know that Johnson scored a load of goals, and I know Son's still the best finisher at the club. And look, if Son starts, I'll be fully behind him. I love the guy, but I just don't think now's the time.
Yeah, that is definitely something that we're going to talk more about next Monday. As I said, bumper edition coming next Monday ahead of Bilbao. Is there anything else to say about yesterday's game before we move on? Any positives? You wanted to talk about what Ange said afterwards.
Look, this might go into a broader conversation about what we think about Ange going forward. If they win the cup, is that enough to justify his job? And I thought it was quite strange self-own almost in his press conference when he said that, well, ultimately, I'm going to pass his words slightly, but ultimately, what do you expect to happen? We've got the cup and we've had to put all our eggs in one basket. If we weren't in the cup, our league form will be much better. A lot of the arguments that I'm seeing for keeping Ange if we win the cup is that he'll deserve it and, what a great job and he's won us a cup, you've got to give him the next season. But if he's saying that about the Europa League, that strikes fear in me about the Champions League next season, that how's he going to juggle both of those? And it felt like a very odd thing. Obviously, I know what he's saying. He's saying that we're going to try and win the cup and screw the rest. But if you're trying to give a job to a guy for the future, and really if you do give someone a job, it's not for what they've done, it's for what you expect them to do. That struck me as a very odd thing to say, that basically I can't manage the team across multiple competitions.
But the counter argument is we made a lot of changes in the group stages of the Europa League, didn't we? We sort of played one of the fullbacks, Van der Ven.
Which you can't do in the Champions League.
No, of course. But the point is, our injury crisis didn't come in until really that Chelsea game. I know Romero and Van der Ven have been out, but it sort of started in December. We were 15 games in. We'd made a load of changes, and he still couldn't juggle it. And these weren't high-pressure games. These weren't knockout games. These were group games. The first half of the season is a lot more forgiving than the second half because you've got Christmas, then you've got the FA Cup, and, you've got a load of midweek games. So him going, well, what do you expect? We're now in... It's like you couldn't do it at the start of the season. You've not been able to do it all season. Yeah. So... someone will be able to stick it out. Our record after Europa League games is disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. I think yesterday was our 6th home game in a row without winning after Europa League game, and that we've not had the hardest games on paper. I know one of them was Ipswich for starters.
Palace away, wasn't
Fulham
it?
Maybe.
Palace away, Palace at home. Ipswich. Yeah.
And we won't be able to make, as Adam says, we will be a pot 3 or pot 4 team. I'm not going into that, but we will have 8 hard Champions League games, and you cannot be affording to make 4 or 5 changes. You see what Arsenal did. Arsenal played their full-strength team in their first 6 games. You can't be chopping and changing, and then you've got important Premier League games.
He's massively, massively made a rod for his own back. Even the Ange, the pro-Ange inners.
We're in pot 1 if we win it. Fair enough.
Oh, if we win it, yeah, But still, even the Ange inners, the most staunch Ange inners will have to concede that with that whole winning a trophy in a second season point, he's made a rod for his own back, because Was it you that was saying, what was it he said in Man City after the Man City game?
He basically said that, like, winning the trophy is not everything, you get judged on the Premier League.
But of course, because that I'm sure was in response to the whole winning the trophy in the second season. Is that what he was being asked? It was all around then.
Well, it was around when Ten Hag got sacked. And
Right.
obviously, Ten Hag won a trophy and got sacked, and he basically said, winning a trophy is not everything.
The problem is he's got himself into a muddle now, hasn't he? He's got himself into a mess. He's saying one thing and then he's doing something else, essentially.
I just think that, I know that I've seen it on radio stations and, you know, loads of people are saying, oh, how can you sack someone? But the fact that where we're going to be in the future trumps the fact that, oh, he deserves it for winning a trophy. It massively trumps it. How can you possibly go, well, we're just going to keep him because we won a trophy and, you know, it's going to be all, la whatever. Because you have to see some sort of vision. You can't just we're basically giving him another year for the absolute sake of it. As a, you know what, mate, fair enough, you deserve that. He doesn't deserve it.
But would it be another year? As in, it could be another 2 months.
I think having seen the Ten Hag situation play out, which is as like for like a situation as you're ever going to see, to follow in the same path would just seem like madness. Particularly as you have to back that guy with players that he wants. And now look at the state of United, albeit what's going to happen in the final. Amrim has been saddled with a load of players that play a 4-2-3-1, that he's struggling to get into a 3-4-2-1, whatever it is. It just seems like it would be such a counterproductive thing. There are so many ways that they could, you know, shake hands, wish Ange all the best, you welcome every time, you've been a modern day legend for what you've achieved, but we're looking at what you're going to do for us in the future, not what have you done for me up to now.
So do you think they'll do that?
I'm a bit concerned that the other options are not going to be alluring enough to them.
To make managerial.
It's exactly the same as Ten Hag vibes.
Yeah, that they might just think there isn't a guy out there that is so obviously a better candidate that maybe standing pat is better.
So you don't think that even some of the Premier League guys could be? They wouldn't see it that way.
Genuine question, and I've obviously batted this away, but do we think Ange could walk?
No.
Well, he's got 1 year left.
But would he resign after that?
When was the last time?
I know managers don't resign, but someone mentioned it to me the other day and I thought, nah, I can't see that. But, you know, won a trophy, maybe he's not, I don't know, maybe would he still feel he's up to it? Would he still feel he can turn it around next season?
Absolutely. And I think he likes, I think that's not a reason to say that he should or shouldn't stay, but I think as far as the way his mentality is, and I think he likes being the guy that everyone, the underdog.
Yeah, he likes.
And I think he likes, and that's, I think, as much as more than anything else, I think that's why he's so desperate for the Europa League trophy, to say, look what I did. And most fans will maybe take your view and say, sorry, it's not good enough because of the league. But I think he wants to be able to turn around and say, see, I told you I could do it.
I think a lot of it's a self-preservation act for him. You know, as much as he wants to win the cup for the club, I think it does a lot more for him than it does for the club, as far as he can see it. And that's probably why he's giving such short shrift to the league, because the league has no bearing on anything to do with his future again.
So has it now got to the point where actually the monkey off our back of winning a trophy has almost disappeared because the league's been so bad?
I think so. I mean, would you accept this again next year? If we said you come 17th, win the FA Cup, would you take it? Having lived through this year, I would say absolutely no.
Especially after, if we won the Europa League, I definitely wouldn't. Can't. This cannot ever be repeated.
Day out at Wembley next May to win the FA Cup, though. If you were guaranteeing me that,
I'm asking the question.
Yeah, I think I would.
You take 22 league defeats again.
It's just so miserable.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. But wouldn't you just love the day out at Wembley, though?
Yeah, but we're almost like. I'm almost like
Would you
torn
not?
between
Wembley.
Yeah, I'm almost
Winning
torn
the FA
between
Cup.
my mood. Like I should.
It's a good question.
I know the fan base are excited, but I feel like we should be more excited for a final. But it's been so miserable. Even yesterday, I know these games are irrelevant, but I was watching it.
So
thinking,
deflating.
This is so bad. This is so bad. Every week, it's like we win an important Europa League game and then put in a horrible performance in the Premier League. And
do you know what's really bad about it, I think, is that we've had this end of season meh feeling now too many times in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
We had it in the twice with Ryan Mason, and now this season as well.
And we had it last season.
And we had it a little bit last season.
I know
as
we
well.
finished 5th, but I mean, if we didn't have the two worst teams in the league, we would have finished 6th.
Apart from the Conte season, 21-22, where it was like the best end of season, more or less you could have. We basically had it every other season since When? We sort of had it. We sort of
18,
had it. No, but we sort of had it at the end of 18-19.
Yeah,
we were
did.
so
We
bad
lost
in the
the
league.
Yeah, we still had to win a couple of games. We beat Brighton the last minute. We had the stadium opening, which is at least something to carry.
1920 was COVID, so we've had dreadful.
Yeah.
16, 17 and 17, 18 were good.
We're good.
Even 15, 16 we collapsed at the end.
Yeah.
We don't end well.
Yeah, but that was the last day. But we had a good. Didn't we have a good?
We lost the
last
last.
four
We lost
games.
a lot.
We didn't win. Last four games.
We lost it.
Yeah.
We didn't win the last four.
And I
games.
tell you, I've noticed it a lot as somebody that has a season ticket, and I can't always go because I'm working. These end of season tickets, no one wants them.
Do you know who we need to sign? We need to sign Eze because I saw a stat
'cause
doing
he's
the
very
rounds
good.
of work. Is Eze's form in the last 8 games is sensational.
Really?
Eze scored more goals in his career in the last 8 games than in the first 30 over a season on average since he's been at Crystal Palace.
How many of the, just a bit, not sort of off topic, but off what we were going to talk about, how many of the Palace players that were playing yesterday would you want in our Tottenham team next season?
I mean,
In the best team, not many.
No?
two definitely.
Who are the two?
Gay's
Yeah,
brilliant.
Gay, Eze, and Wharton.
Eze's
That's 3.
Eze's incredible.
3, I would say.
Yeah.
The right back's good as well. Munoz is really good,
but we've got right backs. Could you see us getting any of them? Gahey, I wouldn't say is going to come to Tottenham. Could you see us signing?
I want Eze so badly.
Yeah,
But I think someone like City or Arsenal must be looking at him because he's ridiculously talented. He could really explode at a top team, I think. If we get in the Champions League, maybe we've got a chance.
Yeah.
You know, I saw all the stuff doing the rounds yesterday. Oh, Eze and Eze signing autographs for Spurs fans, all of that. I know that his representatives were at the City game last season, but if we get in the Champions League, maybe we've got a chance, you know, stays in London. But I'd be surprised if a City or an Arsenal don't come in for him.
Palace are very difficult to do business with, though.
They're a good club.
Yeah.
Fair play to them. They sell at the right time. You know, they got rid of Elise and become a better team. Full credit to them. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be the arrogant sort of big 6 club talking about cherry picking. Who are we to be talking about cherry picking anyone at this stage? But look, it'd be a player like Eze. I think last summer was the summer where it felt like it might have been on, and thankfully we got Timo Werner instead.
Do you think, though, because I really don't think that where we finish in the league, I still think that even though we'll be out of Europe if we don't win in Bilbao, I still think we can sign players because it's only one season out of Europe.
You'd hope so.
It depends who we get as a manager.
Do you think that's what it's down to?
Do you think that?
But it seems to me. So again, it seems to me that for right or wrong, the players like playing for Ange. Mm-hmm. So is he still a draw? I think he's still a draw for other players to come and play for him because for whatever reason, it's this magic stardust he has. Players want to play for him.
I'm almost like thinking towards the summer as with like I haven't not even considered him being in charge. So I'm sort of thinking who could Xavi, for example, attract? You know, Xavi in the Champions League is
Xavi's not going to be our manager.
For example, Xavi in the Champions League is a huge pull. If that was to happen, I mean, it could be.
Yeah, but
Kieran McKenna not in Europe.
I was going to say
it depends on that.
Yeah,
on the final.
What if it's Thomas Frank not in Europe?
Yeah, I mean that's.
Do you think that's a problem?
We're not a massive pull anymore.
Do you not think?
Not that we ever were, but we're even less now.
But I don't think we need the same squad restructuring that we did 2 years ago.
No, but we need players.
I think we need coaching more than we need players, personally. I think I said on the last show that every player in the squad we have seen have a number of outstanding performances. Often at the biggest level. You know, they're often doing it against Man City, Liverpool in the Cup, Frankfurt, Bodo. The situation was big, if not the opposition. I think they need to be coached on a regular basis into a structure that's going to get the best out of them because they are all performing to such a level miles below what we've seen that whilst, yes, I think we need probably another centre-half, another quality forward, I don't think we're entering the summer thinking we need 6, 7, 8 players like we maybe have done 2 years ago.
No.
I think a lot of the changing has been done. These players now need a way of playing.
But the ones we sign in those 2 or 3 positions, we need the best that we can get as opposed to more young players who are potential for the future. If we lose Romero, for example, in the summer, there's no point in replacing him with another Dragishin. We need to sign a
proper centre
a Mark Gahey or someone like that. I would have thought, based on what we saw last summer with the likes of Archie Gray, with the likes of Lucas Bergvall coming in, we've signed for the future. Aldebaran. Surely now, if we're any more signings, an Eze, you need someone who's going to come in and be able to just be the man from the off.
I agree, but I guess their argument might be, look at Howson at Bournemouth. They got him from Juventus for 15 million. wouldn't you rather have a Howson from Bournemouth would you rather have him than Gahey, for example? As a hypothetical question.
Sure, yeah. But there's always those players out.
Sure.
Yeah. That was a punt, though.
Look, you don't need to convince me that we should spend big money on big players,
yeah.
but it wouldn't stun me if their view was data-led plus Paratici's notebook, hopefully can give you...
A lot of people are mentioning De Zerbi.
De Zerbi, Stuart
Do
Austin.
we really need another sort of...
De Zerbi could coach this squad. Yeah, maybe. What's even happened? Is he in France?
Yeah, he's done well.
Yeah, he's got a job at the moment.
Bring back Højbjerg.
Stephen Bruton, spot on, Jake. Gary Becks, Xavi wants a crack at the Prem and would prefer London. Yes, I can't see Xavi coming to Tottenham personally. I just don't think we spend the money that he wants. Stuart Austin wants De Zerbi. Stephen Bruton, we'd never go and spend 200k a week on wages. Yeah, I don't know.
I meant Xavi to replace Bissouma though, not as manager.
He can still do a job.
Very good.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Okay, let's put then yesterday to bed. I wanted to read out one stat because Johnny's bombed me with a load of stats, and I'm going to read one of them for you.
He should go into stats.
Does he work in stats? Tottenham Hotspur have conceded 31 goals at home in the Premier League this season, their most since 07-08, which was 34. With this season only their third campaign in the Premier League, they've conceded 30 plus goals at home. I mean, it's grim. I know, and we all know the 24 defeat across all competitions. I mean, yeah, it's not good. Next season, I mean, obviously there's season tickets up for renewal. You renewing?
Well, at least they've done it after the final, so at least we know what competition we're going to be in.
Will that affect?
A few years ago, I'll always renew, as reluctant as I am every single year.
You'll never get it back.
I just will renew it.
Don't tempt us.
But a few years ago, I think it was the renewals were in before.
Yeah,
21-22. So it's like we don't even know what competition we're in. So we do know now. Although it is actually after the season. But yeah, I'll always renew. Unfortunately.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, of course. I wonder if people don't, based on what happens in the final.
I speak to people and they say, "Oh, I gave it up 10 years ago." I'm just like, mate, we're literally going to finish 17th. Like, I will never not renew it.
The problem is it's not, just on a really boring base level, it's not really representing value for money at this point. So I don't know.
Well, at least they've frozen it.
Certainly not this season.
So at least they've frozen it, yeah. One thing that the club did obviously communicate about was the tickets for Bilbao and the amount of points you needed. Did you have enough, either of you?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
How many do you have?
I've got about 360.
Oh.
Can you lend me some?
Of course. So you got a ticket?
Yeah.
So you're going?
I'm going. Flying out on Tuesday, back on the Thursday.
Flying straight to Bilbao?
Yes.
Yes. And straight back from Bilbao?
Yes.
You pay a fortune?
Yes, to all. It's going to cost another season ticket to be there.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably not a discussion for a Spurs podcast, maybe it's a general football thing.
It's
but
disgraceful.
For there to not be a contingency in place for you, I mean, obviously UEFA would never do this because it shows a modicum of sense, but there should be a stadium in France, a stadium in Italy, a stadium in England that's a reserve stadium.
If it's
an all X final, it just seems, they try and be eco-friendly or whatever. And from all accounts, Bilbao doesn't sound like the biggest city.
No, it's not.
So to accommodate two rampant fan bases going out there, it doesn't sound like it's going to be an overly pleasant experience.
Did you? I hope you have fun. Did you book everything since we beat Bodo?
My friend had booked the hotel in Bilbao in August.
Fine. So you haven't been fleeced on that?
No, not the hotel. And I think really, it's probably the way to do it now, right? Get a refundable hotel the day you know where the city's going to be. Get your flights, and it's I think £800 in total.
But you bought the flights.
I bought my flight out on the Friday between the two legs. And I thought I'd just do planes, trains, and automobiles to get back. And then I remembered that I have a job and a family, so it's not actually that easy to do that.
Put a bit of money on Bodo Glint.
I may have had a small emotional hedge just to be on the safe side.
That was a nice little safety net, wasn't it?
It was a bit. And so we've managed to get a flight back on the Thursday for about 600 quid.
Who's we?
Well, there's 8 of us that are going.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, our group have always sat together for. Look, that's what you do it for, right?
Absolutely.
As much as it's about Tottenham, it's about the 8 of us that have sat together for 25 years. You're going as a group. You just want a day in the sun with your friends. And, literally, it will be in the sun, but a day under the metaphorical sun of hopefully seeing a glint of the sunshine off the silverware that sun's lifting. That's the hope we all cling to, right?
And how did it work in terms of getting the seats together?
We're going to find out.
Oh, you haven't got that far yet?
That starts tomorrow.
Okay.
So
do you have to do it yourselves?
one person can do the order for the group. Okay. So we all applied. One person applied as the group previously, which is just like applying for a normal away game. That was easy.
Yeah.
Then you choose your category.
Yeah. So I think tomorrow we all go into the point of one guy's got the 8 UEFA numbers, and we do it from there.
Got it. And what about you?
I'll get a ticket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to work it.
Yeah, I'll find one.
Okay, that's good. So
I am tossing and turning between thinking, can I really be bothered? Because we're obviously going to lose.
Flights and hotel?
I've got a hotel book.
Okay,
but I don't. I'll sort and pay what I need to. But like, I am tossing and turning between thinking it's such a lot of money. But if I get a ticket, I'll be there.
Okay, good.
I've got a hotel
as a fan.
Book. Yeah, I'm not working.
Yeah. Okay. Who are you going with?
I'll be going with my brothers.
They haven't got tickets either.
No. I saw them out. They've never done anything tickets-wise.
Excellent.
Are you going?
I'm not going. I've just had a second baby, and it's not the right time. I'll go next year when we get there.
The Champions League final.
The Champions League final.
Get your flights booked now will be my advice.
So yeah, exactly. Well, Gary did that. Friend of the show, more than friend of the show. Propping up the show. Gary booked his flights in August, September time. £100, happy days. So
he said from the start we should absolutely, I don't know if he said win or absolutely get to the final. He was adamant on that.
Yeah. Well, we were the favourites for most of it.
It is bizarre because I remember looking at the odds right at the start of the season. Us and United were the favourites, and I thought, there's no way we're both going to get to the final. I know it wasn't guaranteed to be in opposite halves. And the irony is we've been hammered all season, and the bookies were right.
Yep. They often are. I just wanted to, while we're on the subject of the final and Bodo or whatever, did you all see that video doing the rounds of Ange in the dressing room after? What do you think?
It did strike me that it's going to be harder to extricate him from the dressing room if they do win a cup, because there is obviously a feeling of togetherness. And fair play, he's curated that. The manager's the only person that can make that happen. And I suppose you're running the risk, if they do win, of the players. Would the players ever revolt at things like this? I'm not sure if they even care. But being more miffed than they otherwise would be. And I suppose that's the onus on who's picking the next manager to make sure that who comes in has got that presence. Maybe it does need to be a name like a Xavi, where at least the players can sit up and say, bloody hell, that's Xavi. Or that's where it worries me with someone like Marco Silva or Thomas Frank, that you've not got the gravitas of the name or necessarily the profile of the manager that is going to get the players back on side after a guy they clearly all like has been sacked. And I guess they'll probably feel it's unjust because they all hear this stuff about the trophy. And I imagine they're all thinking, if we give Tottenham a trophy, what have their fans got to moan about? So that does strike me as a tricky thing. And that video being posted, it seems almost like it's going to cause as many problems going forward as it was such a lovely thing, obviously, to see. And it's great to get a peek behind the curtain like that.
Who knew Fraser Forster was such a big influence?
Well, I did wonder, because the amount of
I'm sure Forster's great for the change.
The amount
terrific
of
young family man. Harry
the amount of Ange hasn't praised it, but the amount, just the fact that he's still there, he must have something, because we've.
But you see it with Scott Carson at Man City. They love Scott Carson.
Yeah.
He's played like one game.
Yeah, but these guys must have something more than just.
Well, they're they're experienced. Yeah. He's had a good career. Forster. He's accepted, although despite playing a load of games this season somehow, he's accepted that he's never really going to play at any sort of level anymore. And, he's being paid good money to basically be a bit of a goalkeeping coach
he's
and
number
a
3.
motivator.
But a big part of being, in any case,
he's number 4.
Now he's number 4. But he was number 2, 3. But a big part of that is actually being a good club man, because you know you're not going to play.
Well, you know what you're going to get with that, older English guy. Tom Heaton's the same at Man United. They're disciplined. They're going to turn up every day, and they're not going to go out of place, and they're going to be fine. And the young keepers probably like having someone around him. All the youngsters in the squad probably like having that sort of older brother figure.
As someone that works in the job that you do, what do you think when you see a video like that?
Yeah, it's great. It is really nice, but
not as a Tottenham fan, but just as a journalist. That's like the kind of thing that you want to see, isn't it?
Yeah. What, as in, does it surprise me that a manager acts
the club
like that?
that the club put out the video like that. That they don't do it more. Not Tottenham, but just clubs in general.
They couldn't have done it more this season. It's not happened enough. Yeah, it's good. It is good to see what happens.
So much in American sport.
Yeah.
It doesn't really surprise me what goes on. You sort of. I know that you feel so far away from like your team or a Premier League team. You look at them as not on this planet, but it's not really surprising. It's still a group of men and a manager and coaching a group of guys. It's not really a surprise what he said. What do we expect them to say?
No, but I mean, wouldn't you like clubs to put this kind of stuff out more, or do you think less is more in this case?
No, I think you almost want to see after a heavy defeat more than something like that, don't you? To see actually, how, what Fergie used to be like with the head, right? How sort of bad it gets. But I'm not overly interested about, seeing what goes on behind closed doors. That's for them to sort out.
For the fans.
I'm not desperate to know exactly what goes up.
But he does have this, for me as well, he does have this feeling of somebody that you would want to play for. Yeah.
Of course he does, because he's normalised losing. So, it's great.
But I don't think the players I don't think no one likes losing.
I think this group of players, it doesn't hurt them as much as previous Tottenham teams. It just doesn't.
Adam, I hear what you're saying as well about the next manager that comes in. Will they have the gravitas? But he didn't have. He obviously had won trophies, but he wasn't a name. I sort of feel like players just get on with it. I think what might be keeping him in the job is the players like for him, but I don't think it stops them bringing in someone else, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think it helps that he's very erudite. And if you had someone like Marco Silva, who obviously speaks English as a second language, it might be more difficult for him to be as... sort of evocative and get the players on side with his words as much as with his coaching. So that would strike me as maybe a point that's of slight difference and makes it slightly more difficult for a guy that doesn't speak English as a second manager. And I remember saying when Ange came in, obviously not a slight at all on Pochettino, Mourinho, Conte, all who speak English pretty well for a second language, that having someone that can communicate to the fans in their first language, it did feel quite different. And you were reading press conferences knowing exactly what they were saying, not trying to see if there was a translation issue or just hearing in this moment 1,000 times, no fault of their own. And so I wonder if that resonates with players as well slightly, that being communicated to in their primary language, does that help? I don't know.
Well, Conte's presses were a nightmare, to be honest, to have to go to. Phil P, question, is an echo of glory, you've missed the Anne, taking a leaf out of Ange's book and rotating its squad ahead of the final? Yeah, sure, if that's what you want to. If you want it to be, then yes.
I mean, hopefully this isn't a similar performance level to Palace yesterday. But,
this is actually the A team, so yeah, sure.
Unleashed.
Just lastly on that Ange thing, we did see Johnny wanted me to mention, and he's right, because we did interviews earlier on, was it this season? Last season, with a couple of players that played for him, James Holland and Thomas Broik. They're on our YouTube page, which where you'll be watching this, so go and check those out. And this is the kind of thing that they said. He creates this kind of cult around him, for want of a better word. And I think, Jake, not only the players, I think he's done this around the club. And this is why I think there is a reasonable chance that whatever happens, if we win.
But he hasn't done it around the club, though, because the club is,
Not, but I don't necessarily mean the boss. I mean the.
The fan base has never been in more uproar that I can ever remember.
No, I don't mean. Yeah, sorry. Around the immediate club, the people that he works
you
with,
mean like the staff, and training.
Yeah, exactly, and the under 21s and this kind of thing. I wonder how
they all lose every week, including the women's team.
Well, the women's team.
They all just meet. They all just meet on a Monday morning. They go,
you should have seen how bad we were.
Another one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think I just have this sneaking feeling that there's a bit more to it than just than the results on the pitch. That's what the fans see it as the results on the pitch. But the problem, I think,
but that's not enough of a reason to keep someone around.
No,
you can't. Look, I'm sure there's people out there. It cannot happen. It can't happen. He cannot be. We could beat Man United 8-0 in the final. It cannot happen. Absolutely cannot. He could come on and score himself. It cannot happen. Genuinely. I actually saw someone edit on Twitter yesterday, Ange in the shirt. Like they do the birthday messages on Twitter.
Yeah,
Like someone edited Ange, said, I can't wait for Ange to come on in the second half yesterday. It cannot happen.
It could be our Harry Maguire. Just send the big man.
Just send Ange. It can't. Even if he comes on and scores a hat-trick in the final, it can't happen. It just can't.
Do you agree?
Can't.
All logic suggests that yes, I agree, and I can't see any reason that he should stay. I'm less confident that he won't stay.
Okay. Well, this is the big topic of conversation on X and around the fan base and actually non-Tottenham fans messaging me or calling when I speak to people, and they're saying, "Well, he's got surely regardless, he's got to go." And I'm not
do
sure
think
that the appetite is there from the club.
Sorry to interrupt. I do think that in general, social media has become has forced football to be a very binary point where some clubs have to win trophies, other clubs doesn't really matter. So Aston Villa haven't won a trophy for God knows how long. No one talks about that, no one cares. But the Tottenham thing has become a trophy thing, probably because rivalries and Arsenal fans stoke it up. And it's become a point
We've
where...
also been in 5 finals since we won the last one.
But I think the general view about Tottenham, if you were sort of doing like an elevator pitch about Tottenham, is they need to win a trophy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's actually what fans think. So I think you've got this contrast of everyone thinks that we'll be thrilled because we win a trophy. That's the be all and end all, tick, good night. But it's not about that for me. I want to see Tottenham win on a weekend. And that's why for me, I would never want to go through another season like this because we've lost 24 games. That's 24 half weeks of just misery and being upset. And for me, that's not worth it. But I think that there is a real clash that if we do win a cup, you'll get Henry Winter saying, what a job Ange Postecoglou has done.
Of course they will. They'll all say, how can Tottenham possibly sack someone?
How ungrateful are these fans? But they're missing the point that this isn't what we've asked for. It's what we've been told that we're asking for. But I don't think that's the truth of the fan base.
When they do a review, after Bilbao, whatever celebrations they do.
What about we?
We will as well.
The club. You mean the club.
When the club do a review and Daniel Levy sits down with Ange, and they go in and he gets his presentation up and he goes, this is winning Europa League, absolutely brilliant. And then you go down and he gets the list of results up and he sees 22 Premier League defeats. That is it there. That is it there. How could he possibly have any confidence that, okay, the guys won a few knockout games against part-timers and Frankfurt and whatever, and the worst Man United team of all time. That cannot overshadow the league form. It just can't. It absolutely can't. It will be a waste of a season. He will be sacked after 10 games. We will back him with more money and spend a shitload because we got Champions League money, and it will be a total write-off. And then they'll go, oh yes, Spurs. There'll be all the same people going, Spurs should have sacked him. They should have sacked him. They should have learned. Jamie Carragher did a piece in the Telegraph recently. It said Tottenham should learn from Man United and Ten Hag and not give Ange next season.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Interesting.
He said absolutely Tottenham should learn from that mistake regardless of what happens.
Because I was about to say, it doesn't feel like much of the wider media have actually turned on Ange and said that, apart from maybe Carragher. I haven't seen it much in much of the papers.
It's because they're all sort of clinging on to it. They're clinging on to this.
I think people are keeping their powder dry, waiting to see how it actually resolves before they make their big take.
Yeah.
Also, just for the record, it's not to say that if we win in Bilbao, it won't be one of the top 5 moments of my supporting life. It will be the most brilliant. I'll be there with my dad. I've always just wanted one more day, to celebrate with my dad because I was sat there with him and his best mate watching the semi-final, and they both said, "God, this could be the last European final of our lives," and that's they're 67,
That's
68.
poignant.
We get to one every 6 years.
I know, but you just never know when the next one comes.
Yeah,
and so to get that moment will be just unbelievable.
How old are you, sorry?
I'm 37.
What's in the top 5 currently? Tottenham, apart from
there was Chelsea, Ajax. I was there for the Ajax game.
Okay.
Chelsea in the League Cup final. I had a school play rehearsal as an 11-year-old, and I obviously wasn't old enough to pull rank
on a Saturday.
So you didn't watch
Sunday.
It?
I wasn't. I wasn't at that Wembley game. I mean, I guess everyone's got little memories, but I don't know if any of you.
Sorry, which Chelsea game?
The winning the League Cup I was at, but the Leicester Cup final in '99.
Yeah.
I was at that Wimbledon game where Klinsmann scored 4 goals in 90 minutes as an 8-year-old, and don't think I took my kit off for 3 days. I was so excited. And look, there's been so many.
But this wouldn't be number 1 if we won.
Nothing will ever trump Ajax.
Okay.
Ever.
You were there?
Yeah.
In the stadium?
In the stadium. Nothing.
You weren't in that pub with Gary?
No, I wasn't. I saw Gary outside, but nothing will ever top Ajax.
Yeah.
As an individual, singular moment of seeing that ball roll towards us in the corner, nothing's ever going to top that.
Yeah. I can believe that. Let's wrap the poll up as time is getting away from us. Who should start on the left? You've been having your say. Son, Tell and Richie. Richie the winner, 47. Son 27, Tell 25, and Richie 47. And as we spoke about a bit earlier, I think that's probably fair. I think we'd probably all like to see that. So we're talking bring Son on to win it for us at the end.
That would be the absolute dream, wouldn't it?
Stephen Bruton, Leicester at the Old Wembley. What a match! Can still smell the piss from the toilets. That is a lovely place to end. Jorge Pena, hello to you. Son scoring the winner. Yes, exactly. I'll take that. And last one, call. Another reason why Ange is so frustrating is that he does well to call out the media, how the club are perceived and wants to change mentality. Yes, he does. Let's see if what's going to happen.
We didn't mention Kulu, by the way. Obviously, hopefully.
Well, is he?
It sounded better, although we've heard that before this season. So hopefully he's all right.
What did Ange say?
He basically said it was a knock. I know everyone sort of gets a little bit panicky when a player gets taken off, but I think this was extreme circumstances, and any player with the slightest knock should be taken off. So it sounded like, fingers crossed, he should be all right, but obviously it was a bit of a killer that he didn't get that 70 minutes in his legs he needed.
I mean, he's a banker to start, isn't he? So
he's guaranteed.
Yeah.
If it was a knock, I hope in the back of his knee there's like a talent reset button. the defender has knocked the button.
He needs to find. I don't know what he needs to do this week.
I don't know if he's been like space jammed, Monstars, and had all his talent sucked out of his body or something. But he just looks half the players. Hopefully, a bit of.
He needs to go to Hogwarts this week because he needs to find some magic from somewhere.
I just worry sometimes that it's very difficult for players when they come. Not everybody's the same, and not all injuries are the same. When you come back mid-season or towards the end of the season, when you've missed a few games, it's just really difficult to sort of find your rhythm again, match fitness, that kind of thing. It's very.
That's
difficult.
The thing about Son as well. Imagine Son and Brennan Johnson, who are wildly out of form, and then Kulusevski in a final. That is not inspiring, is it?
No,
it's not.
I have nothing else to add on that. That's probably a very good place to end. Just to say that thank you for voting in the poll, everybody, and for your comments as ever. Johnny will be back next week. Check us out on YouTube if you haven't done already. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Instagram at EOGTHFC, the same on X. All that's left to say is, guys, thank you. Jake? Did that make you laugh?
I think I've just seen Johnny message me saying Ange could come on a score hat trick and he could still go. Brilliant.
Excellent. Well, I think wouldn't we keep him if he scored a hat trick?
If he scores 3.
As a player, only. Just in a strictly player role.
Only.
As a wild card.
Adam, this your second performance.
Yeah.
How do you think it went?
I've loved
Better than
it.
the first?
That's not for me to say.
Let the fans judge.
Exactly.
It was better than Dean Marnie's.
Dean Marnie's. Do you reckon you've earned yourself a third appearance at some point?
It'd be remiss of me. Yeah, it's not for me to say again. So I'll let the millions of viewers maybe that can be the next poll for next week. Does Adam deserve a third appearance?
The lack of foodie gifts might have done you down a bit. But Jake, you've been brilliant as ever.
Thank you.
So thank you. Adam, you've been great. Thank you. That's all from me. As I said, Johnny will be back next week with goodness knows who. On Monday, there's going to be a bumper Bilbao preview coming. I guess I have to say, up the Spurs.
Is he ending it?
Run the titles, James. Oh, sorry, no warning. Up the Spurs.